Okay, here we are. Um, it's This is a go-to meeting for lighting 2, week 1. Um, One of your reading uh, assignments is in the Set Lighting Technician's Handbook. You can find it online in your research portal. The textbook assortment that you guys have access to. Um, and there is a video tutorial for you folks to look at and check out, which is um, a DIY LED, how to wire an LED strip, a do-it-yourself tutorial. I just wanted to talk to you about that really quick because as you can see uh, behind me, I have a number of different LED fixtures. There's several on the market that are very effective for lighting. They tend to be daylight balanced, although there's a few models out there that are actually tungsten balanced if you wanted to um, mix and match those with an existing ARRI kit, for instance. Um, I'm sure you guys have seen stuff like this before, uh, on camera, LED fill light. Okay. They do a pretty good job. This one happens to be bicolor by the company Dragcast. So not uncommon for you to see these fixtures out there on the market right now. The only problem is they can tend to be a little pricey. And if you're on a budget, you don't have a lot of money and you're just starting out and you're trying to put a lighting package together, you may not have the hundreds or in some cases thousands of dollars to start assembling, a light kit that consists of LED fixtures. Um, Having said that, uh, the whole point of the DIY video for the LED strips was to make you aware of products that are out on the market right now. Amazon.com is a really great place to look for stuff like this. If you're careful about what you choose, you can get some stuff with some really nice color that'll be easy for you to white balance your camera to, and you can get some really nice looking images to start emerging from this video camera that you have. Now you have your tungsten kit, or I'm sorry, your fluorescent kit with your daylight balanced uh, tubes, and now you can start looking for um, ways to supplement your kit, and this is a really easy and inexpensive way to do it. This is the stuff right here. You may have seen it on eBay, maybe not. It's kind of popular right now. Architecturally, people are using this stuff under kitchen cabinets, and flip of a switch, adjustment of a dimmer, and you have some nice under cabinet lighting for the kitchen. People are using this stuff to line the patios, the screen porches around their pools, um, behind the bars at your favorite nightclub, maybe. Um, all kinds of uses for this stuff. It is called LED tape, and there should be a link on the LMS for a company who is mass producing this stuff for the motion picture industry with color calibrated LED output and everything. That product tends to be a little pricey, and therefore, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because, we're working with a budget here. However, this stuff isn't that expensive off of Amazon or eBay, and you can get a spool of this right now with average to poor color rendition for like $50. Sometimes that's okay. If you're doing a sci-fi film or something where white light values are not as important as illumination, and you're looking for a mechanical, futuristic, computer motivated lighting environment, maybe perfectly white LEDs is not a priority for you. If that's the case, you can go with the inexpensive stuff, save yourself a lot of money, and light your sets. If you need color corrected stuff and you've got the extra cash, you can go to the Light Gear website, or you can just ask for some samples from some of the companies online and see if they're willing to send you a little 6-inch swatch of what they sell, so you can power it up, look at the color quality, check it with your camera, film something, and see if it renders okay for you. If it does, then go for it. This stuff came from a vendor that I used to deal with in Burbank, California, and I did the same thing. I asked him for a swatch to test. He gave me like a foot or so of it. I took it back to my shop. I powered it up. I checked it with my meters, and the color was good. So I got lucky, and I got a few of these rolls fairly inexpensively. So let's just say you can get a roll for maybe anywhere from $50 to $100. Um, so that's a good start. This is 15 feet of LED tape. Now I'm saying tape because it's literally adhesive LED strip. So you have your LEDs on the front side, and on the back side you have this waxy, protective, um, film that you just peel it off, and then it's adhesive, and you can stick this stuff to anything, and it'll stay. Um, and it'll have a couple of little leads, and I'm going to show you here with my handy dandy magnifying glass. You see these leads right here at the end. They're stripped away, about 1/8 of an inch of exposed wire there, if you can see that. What you want to do is take those stripped away leads, and you're going to have to attach a DC input. This is 12-volt DC LED tape. You need a DC power adapter so that you can plug it in with an AC adapter that you can pick up for $5 to $10 online. Not expensive at all. This is it. Plugs into the wall. Standard AC 2-prong deal. Doesn't have to be grounded because it's DC LED tape. If the tape was AC powered, it would have to be grounded according to OSHA to get an underwriter's endorsement. But this is DC stuff, so it doesn't have to have a ground pin. Okay, but you can see on the end here that you have a 2.1 millimeter DC connector. Okay, so this guy is going to go onto your LED tape on the ends that are hanging off, and then you join the two pieces, plug this guy in, and you're good to go. Now, there's a really cool aspect of this LED tape, and I'm going to plug this AC adapter in so we can actually see some of the stuff light up. It's 15 feet on a roll. Okay, what that means is if you use all 15 feet, this roll is going to require 8 amps of DC input. Okay, now 8 amps seems like a lot. This little power adapter that I just showed you is a 1 amp power supply. So if this is 15 feet and it's 8 amps for a 15-foot roll, or 16-foot roll, I guess it's 5 meters. A meter is 39 inches, not 36 inches. So we get an extra 4 inches times 15. We're getting an extra, 4 feet or so. So we'll call it 16 feet divided by 8. At roughly every 2 feet of adhesive LED tape is going to be a 1 amp power supply. Okay. So what you can do is you can cut this stuff. You can cut it with scissors, regular old run-of-the-mill scissors, and you can create chunks that are, you know, maybe this long. Okay. This one already has the adapter screwed on, and if you can see, I guess I really don't need my magnifying glass. You can see there are some screws in there. So the idea is, you know, go to the auto parts store like AutoZone or Pep Boys. Pick up a set of these for $3, right? The little jeweler's screwdrivers. Open it up and select the largest Phillips head screwdriver, right? And then you're just gonna get in there and, you know, tighten down all your screws, okay? And it's a no-brainer, right? So the tape has 2 leads hanging off the end, right? It's got 2 stripped away leads hanging off the end of your first piece, mind you. And you just line up red to red wire, black to black wire, screw them down with the quick connector, and you're good to go. When you plug this puppy in, boom, lights up, and it's great. Look at that. I mean, this is putting out a lot of output, right? I mean, if this was a light fixture, if I needed it to do work, it's doing a lot of work. This is a 12-inch strip of LEDs right here, and it's putting out some light. Okay, very cool. Look at that on me, and look how even it is. If you're doing sci-fi, right, and your guy is sitting at the at the viewing screen and he's talking to Captain Kirk on the monitor, and they're talking about, I'm going to launch my photon torpedoes. These guys don't look like the way I look right now, right? They're lit, funky, cool looking. Check me out. Do I look like I'm lit by a computer panel or a series of scientific instruments? I'm underlit like the bad guy, or I'm lit like the Klingons. I'm over the top, really sinister looking. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff with this. If you just needed to mimic a monitor light for a computer, I just laid it right there. I'm not going to stick it to my Retina laptop, but I mean, it's doing a good job. If I block my key light, you can see behind the shadow of my hand, it's putting out some light, right? It's putting a nice twinkle in the eye. So that's 12 inches of this stuff. You got 15 feet of it on a roll. You can stick it to art card. You remember the bounces we talked about? Take one of these guys here, right? Your foam core. Stick it to the foam core. Now you've got, I'm going to plug this so you can see what I'm doing. Now you've got a reflector and your strip of LED tape. You put enough strips on this piece of foam core, and you've got yourself one of those 1x1 light panel, right? Not too shabby. These can run you several hundred to $1,000 or more dollars. You can do it this way for $50 in a couple hours of your time. Okay. Now, granted, this isn't as fancy as a fixture that's pre-made by a manufacturer, but if you're working on a budget and you need the look, the only thing that shows up on screen when we're making movies is the light that we apply to our actors. What we use to get there is irrelevant. Nobody ever knows. They don't see it. It's all off camera. If you can do it with this, more power to you. So what do you got to do? Okay, let's take a look at a piece of my sample tape here, and I'll show you up close. You can see every couple of inches there's a couple of brass points, and they're divided by a line. If I get this close enough, you might be able to make out a teeny tiny image. Let's try it this way. teeny tiny image of scissors. If you look real close, you can see an image of scissors, okay? That's where you cut. That's all you got to do. You can cut this stuff every 2 inches. So you just look for the cut points. Here's one right here. Okay, you see that? 4 brass contacts. You cut on the line between them. That's your soldering points. Okay, this one has shrink tube rather, covering the soldering point. Okay, that's so you don't have exposed contacts. Even with DC power, if you were to bridge the plus and minus contacts here with something metal, you're going to get a little spark. Okay, and sometimes it's a big spark. Okay, so you're going to want to be careful. But you can cut this. So if you wanted a 3-foot chunk or a 2-foot chunk or a 6-foot chunk or a 10-foot chunk, I mean, you can power up the whole reel if you want. Then you need a fairly large 8-amp power supply, which you have to acquire online, and they're a little over about 150 bucks. But if you start segmenting this out into usable pieces, say you cut 3-foot pieces, right? You got 5 of those on this roll. Okay, cut 2-foot pieces. You can make 7, 8 of those. Okay, or you can cut them into 1-foot pieces, and as long as you don't peel the double protective wax layer off the back side, you can keep reusing this stuff and just use regular grip tape to tape it to what you want to tape it to, and protect the adhesive side. You know, keep it, you know, clean and covered, and you can keep reusing this stuff. You don't have to stick it on something and then that's it. Okay, you can keep reusing it. So what are you going to need? You're going to need a soldering iron of some kind, okay, and you're going to need one with a fine point on it. Some of them have a really big chisel tip, and that's not going to get you there because we're dealing with 22 gauge wire. It's really, really thin, and the tip of that soldering iron with the chisel point on there, it's going to be too big and goopy and gobby and gross. You want one of these because it's about the same size as the area you're going to be soldering. Okay, so you need a soldering iron. You'll need a little bit of teeny tiny bit of flux, right? Sometimes you can get a kit with the iron. This one is from Weller, and they'll sell a kit with a little tin of flux and a soldering iron, and then a little sample spool of this stuff, which is flux core solder, but you need some of that as well. Okay, and soldering's not hard. Don't be alarmed. You just put a little, you warm up the iron. Okay, you get a little ball of solder on there, and you just touch it to the 2 brass contacts, and it's like hot gluing the ends of your LED tape with a couple of pieces of 22 gauge wire. So you can go, again, you can go to AutoZone and get this stuff. A spool of red and a spool of black from AutoZone for a couple dollars a roll. Take it home, cut off a length of lead, long enough to do whatever you want to do, and cut your tape on your cut lines, right? Then solder your 2 pieces on there, right? Get your quick plug, right? I got another one around here somewhere. But get your quick, your quick adapter, and you can order these online as well. Screw it on, plug in your power adapter, boom, and you're lighting in like 5 minutes, guys. This isn't rocket science. This is, although we might have gotten these from NASA, I don't know, but it ain't rocket science. You can do this really quick, and you can get some really great effects out of it. You can make, your own LED panels on foam core. It's almost endless what you can do with this stuff. Really easy. There's some accessories as well that are available online. They've got inline switches, right? So you go ahead and connect your Easy as pie. These are like, I don't know, $3, $4 online. Okay, sometimes even cheaper than that. Go to Amazon or go to eBay. When you find one, say you find one on Amazon, right, and they want $4.95 for it. Scroll down to the bottom of the page on Amazon. A lot of times they'll have a little blurb. People who bought the thing you selected oftentimes also buy this. Boom. And then they'll give you a little row of stuff with an arrow, and you click on the arrow and it keeps showing you assorted goodies on the bottom. And scroll around till you find there's going to be somebody out there that might have this, okay, for $3.95 or $2.95. Okay. Just hunt around. When you find a website that gives you a good price, something that you're happy with, click buy now. You can get, this is a 3-foot extension cord, okay? All this stuff is DC. There's 2 different sizes of DC connector now. So what you have to do is you have to, since your roll is probably not going to come with a DC end, it's probably going to come like this with just 2 bare stripped ends, okay? That's okay. Pick a power supply online, and when you get it, it's going to have on the box some information. Okay, whoops. You probably can't see this too well because the lights are really intense, but you see how it says switching power supply, part number, input 100 to 240 volts AC, 60 hertz, 0.5 amps. This only draws a half an amp out of the wall. And then this little sign right down here tells you the polarity of the power supply. And this tells you if it's 2.1 or 2.5 millimeter. It's 2.1 by 5.5, which is the length. Or it's 2.5 by 5.5. And all that is the diameter of these guys. Okay, so 2.1 is a little bit bigger than 2.5. You got to check this because here's the problem. If you just eyeball this, you can't tell if it's 2.1 or 2.5. Okay, they look identical. The diameter is so minutely different that you can't see it by eye. The 2.5 will go into, or the 2.1 rather, will go into a 2.5 male universal lead. Okay, but nothing will light up because in the center you have the center positive pin, and it won't make contact inside here because the diameter will be too big. Okay, it won't be making a, the minus contact is the outside of this connector. That'll make contact fine, but the inside connector won't connect and nothing will light up. So make sure that your universal leads, whatever size they are, okay, check. The manufacturer will tell you, whoever's selling it on Amazon, they'll tell you if it's 2.1 or 2.5. They have to, and they want this stuff to work. They don't want you to be returning stuff for something as simple as getting the wrong size. They'll tell you what size it is. Most of the time, 80% of the time, you'll get a 2.1 if you don't check, but you should just to make sure. And then just make sure that you get the power supply with the right specs, okay? 2.1 by 5.5, center positive, and you're good to go. And then everything you buy should be 2.1. So if you get inline switches, make sure there's a 2.1 by 5.5 inline switch. You can also get these nifty guys right here. This is an inline 12-volt dimmer, okay? We're all about control in our lighting. Our output has to be bright enough for exposure. It also has to be the right color. And then we have to be able to control the amount of it because we have exposure considerations that we have to manage. So you can put a dimmer in line with this guy and just roll it with your thumb, and you can control how much light comes out, right? You can set the level yourself with the dimmer. Okay, so you can also use it as a switch. Okay, so there's lots of this kind of stuff out there, and it's not expensive at all. I think you can get these online for like $6. You can get these online for like $3 or $4, right? You can get a roll of this stuff for $50 to $100. Okay, you can get an inexpensive Weller soldering kit from AutoZone for about $15. You can get your red and black wire for a couple bucks a roll at AutoZone. I mean, all in, I got, you know, I think this roll cost me $50. And then another 15, there's 65. I bought a bag of these for like $10. There's $75. I had a soldering iron. Let's say I didn't, another $15. What's that, $90? Okay. For less than $100, I got a whole bunch of LED stuff that I can do some pretty neat things with. You can get packages of these pre-cut at, Michael's Arts and Crafts or Art Systems or Sam Flax or Scranton. I mean, you name it. I don't know who the art supply dealer is in your neighborhood, but this stuff's cheap. It's like $5 for 5 of them, right? And we use these for everything, right? Reflectors and, you see the deal. I mean, we use these for everything. So it's not going to go to waste, right? Buy a 5-pack, 6-pack of those. Less than $100, you got a lot of options, right? And it's not hard. It's 12 volt. You know your West Virginia formula now. Do the math. When you buy a roll of this stuff, okay, it's going to tell you some things. It's going to tell you it's cool white, so it's daylight, more or less. It's going to tell you it's 12 volt DC. It's going to tell you it's 2 amps of current every 16 inches. It's 24 watts every 16 inches. All right, so 24 watts. 12 goes into 24 really easy. 48, double it. 32 inches is 48 watts. Plug it into West Virginia. 48 watts equals 12 volts at X amps. Divide by 12 on both sides. 12 goes into 48 4 times. Every 48 inches is 4 amps. Go online to Amazon.com. Look at the specs for the power supply. This one is a 1/2 amp. That's only about, 8 inches of tape, which is about what I had here. Okay, so this was the power supply to do this. Okay, go online, look for a 4.15 or 4.25 amp power supply. Those are the standard ampacities. If you need whatever ampacity you need, but say you need 4 amps, okay, because that's a good compensation. It's a good number to work with, divisible by all of the stuff we're concerned with. 4 amp power supply. You want to have, if a quarter of, if you need 4 amps on your power supply, you should have about 10% contingency. You never want to max out a power supply for exactly what it's worth, the maximum output that it'll give you, because that will reduce the lifespan of that piece of equipment. All right, so if you need 4 amps to power up a 1/2 roll of this stuff, or 8 feet, let's say, get a 4.25 amp power supply to give yourself a little extra headroom so you don't boil your power supply by maxing out the ampacity. Okay, that's why it's hard to find an exactly 4 amp power supply. You'll find a 4.15 or a 4.25. If you need 6 amps, you'll find a 6.25 or a 6.5 amp power supply. they're trying to give you that headroom, so they figure, oh, they need 6 amps, so we'll give them 6.25 amps, and they'll have a little bit of room to keep the coil inside cool. So that's all it is. Plug these values into West Virginia. Watts equals volts times amps. If the voltage is 12 volt and you have the wattage from the label on your tape, right? The length is, what did we say? We said 4 amps for 48 inches, 2 amps for 24 inches. It happens to say that on this bit of tape here, it says at 24 watts, 16 inches, it's 2 amps. It's already telling you. Okay, they already did the math for you. You know what your value is. Now go find your power supply with the right specs, and that's all you got to do, right? When you're getting started, if you want to make yourself a little kit, you can buy tungsten balanced tape, daylight balanced tape. There's also RGB tape, and it comes with a little controller, and it's multicolor. You dial in, or in this case, I think it's a touch remote. Touch the color you want, and the tape turns that color. It's brilliant. I mean, for futuristic stuff and lighting schemes and things, it's fantastic. Get yourself a little protective bag, like I get these from Home Depot. It says Husky on it. These are like $6 from Home Depot. I put a little label on there, L.E.D tape, 24 watts, 600 cool white. And I put all my tape in there because it's Cordura, it's water resistant, and it's durable. And get yourself a couple of those and put some of your little dimmer and switch gags in there, some of your universal input adapters in there, your power adapters in there. Take your jeweler's screwdrivers and make yourself a little kit, and take it with you. Throw it in your gear bag with the rest of your lighting equipment. I mean, something like this doesn't weigh anything. It weighs maybe 1.5 pounds. Throw it in your gear bag with the rest of your stuff, and take it with you. If you want to start getting really crazy, there's some nifty stuff out there. LED tiles. You can see that there. They come with surface mount diodes on there. Okay, SMDs they're called. This one comes with its lead, its male lead. So all you got to do is plug this puppy in and go to town. This one's tungsten balanced, so it's balanced to the stuff I got working already. Look at that. I mean, look at how, let's cover it. There's the key light that I'm bouncing off my bounce over here, right? Here's what that little panel will do. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty bright. And it's balanced too. I mean, look at it. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I mean, if I sat here and I was lit like this, I mean, it doesn't have much shape side to side, but it's gentle. It's low contrast. It's in a beauty position right now, right over the camera. Doesn't look too bad. I mean, and it's coming out of a little piece it's this big. It's 2 inches, 2 inches by 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, right? It still works off the same dimmers and switches, that we were looking at. So if I wanted to dim this guy, I could do it. And it's got 3M sticky back on it. So you peel that protective thing off there and you can stick it to stuff. I don't peel my things off. I leave them like this, and I use grip tape. Then I can reuse this a bunch of times. Because when you stick this on, it's really strong. And it's, if to tear it off, you might ruin the actual little tile. So I just use grip tape, and it's solved. So that's it. I think I got these online for like $3 each, right? For $3, you got a mini light panel. For another $6, you got your power supply. For another $6, you got your dimmer. for another 2 or 3. You got a switch. You got yourself a light for 20 bucks. And it looks great. This one was tungsten balanced. You can get them that are daylight balanced, right? You can't tell by looking at them. They look the same, but the manufacturer will tell you on the Amazon or eBay website. It'll tell you if it's tungsten balanced or daylight, or it'll tell you exactly what Kelvin temperature this stuff is. Remember, tungsten, like that guy, 3200 Kelvin. Daylight, like that guy, 5600 Kelvin. Now I got it bouncing off of some warmth, a warm surface, so it's not exactly daylight anymore. It's daylight plus a little warm, the paint on the wall is warm. So I'm smacking it right into the wall, and the wall is like an eggshell. So I'm getting that warmth reflected from the color of the paint. Albedo is a good term for you guys to use. That is the quality or consistency of reflected color off of a surface. Albedo, right? The rule of albedo states that white light bouncing off a colored surface, the reflection will retain the color quality of the surface the white light bounced off of. And that is albedo, okay? So if I take my daylight balanced light and I whack it off of a warm painted wall like a light brown or an eggshell, the resulting reflection's albedo bears the color signature of the surface I bounced it off of. Keep that in mind when you're bouncing lights off of things. That's why we use white beadboard. Okay? I digress. Back to these panels. A few dollars a piece. The manufacturer will tell you what color temperature they are. Pay attention. They come in 3200, 3000, 4200 Kelvin, 4600 Kelvin, 5000 Kelvin, 5600 Kelvin or 5500 Kelvin, 6000 Kelvin, and 7200 Kelvin. So check the description on the website you're buying it from to make sure you get the right color that you want. Okay. Here's a cool tile with smaller diodes on it. You can see the difference in the size of the diodes, right? And it's also a little bit smaller in size. And these are crazy. They go all the way down to, this one can actually break into 3/4 inch segments, and you can solder them together. So you have just, if you look at the back, you see how the tape is segmented. You can make a little tiny 4 diode tile, stick it somewhere small, like right under the screen or something, pop, like a laptop light or something. There's no end to what you do with this stuff. If you guys watched the movie about Facebook, okay, they had a lot of this kind of lighting going on. Check out movies like that, and you're going to start to notice this stuff now. Pay attention to the world around you, the world that's in films that you're watching, and see if you can figure out sometimes where these sources are coming from. Sometimes it's conventional work, it's a bounce or it's a direct backlight like I got on me over here, Sometimes it's these environmental lights or practicals, we call them, okay? That's a practical, okay? It's a recognizable lighting fixture that's in a shot, in a movie, and it's doing work, right? If I turn that practical off, the wall behind me is going to slow down or get darker, we call it slowing down or getting darker. I turn that lamp on, that lamp is doing work, and it's a lamp. I recognize it as a lamp, and I have a bulb in there that's color corrected enough to where I can deal with it with my other color scenarios going on in the set. A lot of times we rig these practicals with stuff like this because we're working on the set, we need it to be color corrected, and a regular light bulb might not be the right color for the rest of our gear. So we have to put a gag in there, we call it, and we have to load that guy up with something from our kit to make it do work for us on camera, but look like it's doing what it would normally be doing, which is just turned on and lighting the room. Never take for granted a light bulb and a lamp in a movie. That has been managed by the gaffer and his crew to make sure that the output is correct, the color is correct, it's not too bright, it's not too dim, it's on a dimmer so they can control it at a moment's notice. Everything that you see in a movie shot has been managed by somebody. And if it's a recognizable source, we call it a practical. Okay? So that's it. I mean, that's LED tape in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Check it out. Go to Amazon. Go to eBay. LED tape in the search box, and you'll get 100 or more leads that you can chase down and see what you find. Make it like a treasure hunt. All right, that's it. This is the DIY workshop LED tape for digital film lighting 2. I'm Mike, the instructor, and I'll see you around the coursework on the LMS. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.